Luke Thomas here for CBS Sports and Showtime Morning Combat Podcast, joined by a gentleman you will know very well. He is the former UFC middleweight champion of the world. He returns to action this weekend when he takes on Kelvin Gastelum in the main event. It is Robert the Reaper Whittaker. Hi, Robert. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. How are you?
Robert, I don't good. I'm doing quite well. Appreciate it. I don't know the totality of your training history, but am I wrong? Am I right to assume it's in general you've not? Well, there's not a lot of super gyms in that oceanic region, right? There's a lot of really good trainers, a lot of very good teams, but like the super teams that we identify in North America, there's not really a ton of those that I'm aware of. You can correct me in that oceanic region. So for the most part, you've kind of done your own thing throughout your career, no?
Yeah, more or less. It's like you mentioned, I have a great team, and I've been able to get to where I am now because of them. But we don't have mega gyms as you would, where there's like several UFC fighters all training out of the one place and whatnot.
Why do you think that is?
It's hard. And it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I think maybe population has something to do with it. I think the growth of the sport, it started later than places like here. It is hard to say.
I just have one question about the gentleman you were originally supposed to face. It was going to be Paulo Costa. He falls out, and now it's Kelvin Gastelum. What were you expecting from him after that weird performance against Adesanya, uneven at best, and then the subsequent sort of parade of bizarre explanations, including having a drink the night before?
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. Yeah, he's doing his own thing. He's playing to his own tune, sort of thing. So I don't really worry myself too much about what he's up to. I just focus on what I'm doing.
All right. So for Kelvin Gastelum, when they told you that this was the guy who wanted to step up, your reaction was what?
Yes, because I was upset at first just because I don't like changes. Period. But the timeline fit. I was fit. I'm strong. And I want to fight. That is, I guess, the key thing is I want to fight.
So is there a degree of happiness because the fight stays, or your calendar stays on schedule? So that's partly the benefit, right? But the other benefit must be that you got all the way through a whole prep system for this guy already once. Switching opponents has to suck, especially if you've never faced the guy you're switching to. And technically you didn't, but you did everything else but that. I'm guessing there must have been a degree of comfort with that.
I was very happy that the timeline got to stay the same and the fight is still going ahead, because this is what I do to provide for my family. This is what I do. The fact that we were scheduled to fight before, and I have some experience in working with his traits and whatnot, it all adds into my favor of having this fight up.
Just real quickly, those are gamer headsets, right? The gamer headphones you have there?
Yeah.
You're big into gaming, yes?
I am.
All right. What's the top two Robert Whittaker rotations when it comes to playing games? What's your number one and your number two?
It's hard to say. I guess like at the moment I'm playing a lot of ESO and Fallout 76. They're a clean couple games I rotate to on and off.
What is it about those games that appeals to you? Like what do those say about your gaming preferences?
It's open world, RPG, that sort of stuff.
Okay. Right. You're not big into the fighting games? I've never played the UFC game.
No, yeah, not really. More. I don't mind Smash Brothers. That's a pretty fun fighting game.
Are you an MK guy, Mortal Kombat?
Nah, more Street Fighter. Like that's generally my jam. But Smash Bros.
That's blasphemy around this parts, Mr. Whittaker. You're more of a Street Fighter's better than MK guy?
Street Fighter, mate, classic.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's get back to the fight here for just a second. With Kelvin Gastelum, I'm sort of like imagining, I know what your task is, which is to imagine Kelvin at his absolute best, be ready for that, and then whatever comes may come. But I am kind of curious about where you think he might be in his career. He kind of plays to the levels, right? Like sometimes he'll have a fight and he'll level up to that guy, and then sometimes he'll have an opponent who'll kind of level down. There's a weird inconsistency. How do you size him up?
I think he's a very dangerous fighter, and I'm certainly giving him the respect he deserves. It's one of those things where I think he can go anywhere he wants with a fight, which makes him very dangerous. He's got power, he's got grappling. What Kelvin shows up is anybody's guess. Everybody has off days and off nights. It's kind of up to the night itself. But like you said, I'm preparing for the best.
Have you fought in the small cage before?
I have not.
Okay. Does it matter your preparation to what extent it caters to that constrained, so to speak, reality?
It's certainly something we had to take into account and prepare for. But yeah, I guess we won't really know how it'll affect the fight itself until we get there.
Okay, but fair. But okay, I was going to say to what extent is it your preference? But if you've never competed in it, I guess you don't have a preference in that regard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. With a win here, it's got to be title town, right? Like you could almost, if actually you could make the case now, it's deserving. But let's assume for a second that it's not. This has to be the absolute ceiling of the deal, right?
Honestly, I'm not thinking about it. It's yeah, my future stops on Saturday night. That's where I can plan and prepare up to, because the outcome is never assured, and planning past it kind of disrespects everything that happens before it.
Still, you're a fighter. You're a thoughtful guy, Robert. I know that all fighters think about what they want to do when they get into the sport, and more often than not, it's make a lot of money and get a title. Certainly, you've done the title part. I'm sure you've made some good money as well. But just speaking about the title, you had that. You're still quite young. When you examine what you want to do with the time you have remaining, which could be considerable, what are you thinking is there? What do you want to do?
I want to fight. I want to win. Very simple, and I don't want to lose. And that only leads in one direction, really, and that's at the top. And that's where I want to be.
So I guess I'm trying to wonder, how much does becoming a champion a second time fit into key parts of your plan?
Yeah, no, it all paths lead to it for me. With my goal and my objective, and where I want to go with my career, all paths lead to the title.
When you switched from 170 to 185, how much weight were you cutting to make 170?
Yeah, too much. Way too much. Like, I think in my last one, it was something like 20 pounds day of. It was hard.
Ooh. Okay, so there's a lot of controversy about changing weight classes and should you put on weight, should you not? What do you feel like going from 170 to 185 when you learn the lesson of how to move up a weight class, both in terms of the changes that may come with the particular fighting styles or whatever, but in terms of how you manage your weight and what's the right way to do it? What was the biggest lesson you learned going from 170 to 185?
It's hard to say, because I guess my whole career has been a learning curve and a learning experience. So every time I cut weight, I make it a little bit better the next, and that's kind of how I've done it since the start of my career. I guess moving up though, it's just, I don't know. I don't like cutting a lot of weight. I don't like big cuts, day of, and it's helped my performance not making those.
Have you ever been in a fight where you were like, geez, I'm sorry, I should say at 185. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like it could be a little bit bigger, or has it just basically been like, you know what, this really is just the best size for me?
Yeah, no, it's that latter for sure. I've never been manhandled or ragdolled or held down. It's and I hit plenty hard.
And 10 rounds after 10 rounds with Romero, you must have felt like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't in doubt before, but I guess I'm just thinking about it from the outside perspective. 10 rounds after that guy, you surely must have felt like you absolutely physically can handle yourself. No problem in the weight class, right?
Well before that, before
Yeah.
I fought him, I know, I knew.
I figured as much. Okay. All right. Well, the championship, we'll see what happens with Gastelum. I guess we'll see what happens. If I may, I do kind of want to ask you about the situation with the existing champion going up a weight class. Now he's going to come back down. I'm sure you saw their fight. What was your major takeaway from the Adesanya and Blachowicz fight?
I think Blachowicz fought really well. I thought his game plan was sound, and he had the discipline to stick with it and to continue driving it with those later takedowns in the later rounds when Izzy didn't have the speed to stop him, or the strength, I should say. It's yeah, I think it was just a very smart fight. I think it broke Izzy's aura of invincibility, and I guess we'll have to see how things go moving forward.
The fight though, it's interesting, right? You have such a very different style from a guy like Jan. So I'm sure you have thoughts about how things might go differently, but can you really take something from Blachowicz's particular way that he fought and use it for yourself, or are they just too distinct?
No, you can certainly take away some key components of Jan's game plan that had great success against Izzy, and try to adapt that for sure.
You mentioned something I wanted to pick up on. Did you feel like he was maybe not so much as it relates to any kind of striking encounter, even in the clinch, but maybe for wrestling scenarios, did you feel like he was outsized there?
Not really, because the takedowns were landed in the later rounds, which is the best time to try and land takedowns, right? So it's hard to say. Izzy's a big guy.
When you guys fought last time? I live in America, so I can only know what people tell me. There's no way to really know. But there was a whole kind of or I should say, Australia versus New Zealand kind of thing. Has that gone away, or is that still a thing? Like, to what extent is that a real phenomenon that underpins the rivalry?
No, it's just a rivalry, I guess. I don't know why that rivalry was there, because I represent both, but it the rivalries are kind of always there. We're on the same side, but we're kind of rivals as well.
Yeah, it's hard to understand. I don't know what the American is there. You've been to the United States a few times. Is there an American equivalent? Is it like California versus, I don't
I
know,
wouldn't
Texas
know.
or something like that?
I would not know.
No, Hawaii versus California. I don't know. It's a weird thing. So you do anticipate that, like, if you guys face each other again, that's just another thing that will come up again. You just have to deal with it.
Perhaps it makes for good marketing, and they love playing on that.
Did it make for good marketing in Australia? It made for good marketing over here, but did it make for good marketing there?
Oh, certainly, I guess, because it's hard to say. I'm not in that that side of things, but I guess it. The media soaked it up. They loved it.
Yeah, they do. It sounds like, if I could just read between the lines, it sounds like you'd prefer the media not make that an angle going forward, but they're going to make their own choices, right?
Media always do, right?
Yeah. You hate doing media, huh? It's not that fun.
Oh, no, it's just, it depends. I like doing some media and some I do not.
What makes for a good media appearance for you?
It's hard to say. I like honest media.
Okay.
Which is the rarest kind of media.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't pay to
yeah,
be honest in media, though, Robert. I got to tell
it
you, it's hard to do that.
It doesn't. Real doesn't pay.
It's hard to do that. So, like, next time I interview you, what's a good way to, like, make a great impression with Robert Whittaker? Give me a key. Give me a key.
It's hard to say. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I do have one question about the sort of like the stage you're in now, because you had the belt for so long, but you obviously had some injuries, some time off. We know about even afterwards some burnout issues, but now it seems like you're on a more sustainable path. To what extent is actually not being the champion and then figuring out those outside the camp issues? Yes, you're doing media here, but it's not commensurate probably with what you did when you were champion. So to what extent is actually not being champion made for a better lifestyle?
Well, I guess more than anything, it triggered the events that had to occur. It was the catalyst, if you would. So the fact that I am where I am now is directly related to that. And now I have that balance and that that clear ahead, if you will.
If and when you get the belt again, have you already thought, like, okay, there's going to be some ways in which I live my life? It's going to be, I know you're already made changes. I guess what I'm saying is, when those new responsibilities get foisted upon you, have you already thought about ways to duck and dodge some of the things that may have tripped you up last time?
No, I don't need to think about it. I just need to be, true to who I am. That I guess is the most important thing.
Before I let you go here, appreciate your time. The fight with Marvin Vettori over Kevin Holland, your thoughts?
I thought it was a smart fight. He had a lot of success with the wrestling, so he continued doing that, and got the win that way.
I take it you To what extent do you pay attention to his claim that he deserves the next title shot? Because I would imagine from, again, from my position, you win on Saturday. I just don't know how they don't give it to you.
Let's see what happens Saturday.
All right, Mr. Whittaker. All right. I appreciate your time. We will see what happens. Of course, this will be the main event on Saturday for what is the official name of the event? UFC Vegas a billion at this point. Do you even know?
I got no idea.
I think it's just Whittaker versus Gastelum. How about that? I think it's officially
that's it too.
That one. We can't wait to see what happens. You deserve the title shot already. Certainly if you win. Thank you for your time. And can't wait to see what happens on Saturday. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Right.